Hi, my name is Holly, and I am a sales tax expert specifically for e-commerce businesses with 5 million or more in revenue per year selling in the US. So I've worked with businesses that are located in the US and outside of the US, but selling into the US. And some services that I provide are services for nexus studies and risk assessments. So, if you need a nexus study done to determine where you have sales tax liability, and then a risk assessment to determine what amounts that tax liability is. And I can also determine estimates for penalties and interest as well. And then another thing that I do is state registrations. So if you have to register in a state and you either already know where you need to register or you need me to do the nexus study first to determine that, I can also complete the registrations for you. I've completed state registrations for sales tax, income tax, payroll, and I've also completed SOS registrations, which is Secretary of State registrations, whenever those are necessary for a sales tax or income tax registration. And part of an SOS registration is getting a registered agent. So I have done that for clients as well. And then another service that I provide is services for setting up sales tax automation. So I've worked a lot with Avalara, TaxJar, Taxify, and soon I'll have some experience with TaxCloud as well. So what I could do is take a look at the tax settings in your online store and determine whether or not we need to adjust those settings based on how well they're collecting tax. And I could look into sales tax automation software for you to see if you would benefit from using a software such as Avalara or Taxify or something like that. And then another service that I provide are services for sales tax filings. So once we get you registered and everything, then I can actually file the returns for you going forward. Or if you use a sales tax automation service for that, I can help get that set up. So, for example, I have clients who use Avalara and they have me go in and set up the returns in Avalara for them if they hired Avalara to file them on their behalf. And part of sales tax filings is I go into the tax portals every month as well to make sure that you're not missing any messages or notices from the state. I do a lot of work with handling notices as well. So if you receive a notice for, let's say, a return that was filed late and they're assessing penalties and interest, then interest is something that cannot be waived, but penalties can sometimes. So there's been times where I've submitted requests to have those penalties waived and things like that. And then another service that I provide are services for voluntary disclosure agreements. And a lot of businesses don't know what these are. It's and the abbreviation is VDA. So with a VDA, you can anonymously go to the state and ask to enter into this agreement. And if you're eligible, then the state will send you or will send me instructions on the steps for completing the VDA process. And what that is that you voluntarily disclose prior year sales. And most states have a VDA look back period of 3 or 4 years. So for businesses that know they hit Nexus 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe even a couple of years ago, this is a really great option because what the states will do is waive the penalties for those prior taxes. So you can disclose your sales, pay the prior tax, pay the interest, but have penalties waived. And then another benefit is that the state can never audit you for those years or prior years. So there's some upsides, and then there's also downsides because of having to pay all of that back tax. So we could go through all of the states you need to register in and determine whether it's better to register going forward or to proceed with a BDA. And then another service that I provide for several clients are bookkeeping services. So that would include monthly bank feed allocation and bank reconciliations, entering journal entries, and I do journal entries for payroll as well. So I provide just a little bit of bookkeeping services, but I do not do daily bookkeeping or weekly bookkeeping. So the bookkeeping aspect of my job is really more of for clients who just need some additional help, or maybe they need cleanup for prior years, things like that. So a little bit about myself and my experience is that I'm an enrolled agent as of August 2022. And what this is this means that I am an enrolled tax preparer. And it also means that I am authorized to represent clients on tax issues. So I have an actual license for that. And then I also have my paralegal certificate. And I did work for a law firm for a little over 3 years. And while I was there, I did bookkeeping, I did billing, and some admin work, and then also paralegal work. So I have some legal research experience from that. And then I worked for an accounting firm for 3 years, and it was a pretty large accounting firm. And I worked specifically on the state and local tax team. So I specialized in sales tax by working on that team. I received a lot of training on filing sales tax returns, registrations, BDAs, all of the services that I provide. I received a lot of training on. And then I also trained interns and new employees once I had more experience with sales tax. So now I am 100% freelance. I do not work for any accounting firm or law firm or anything. So I do have a lot more availability to take on more clients. And then that being said, some of the services that I do not provide are services for federal taxes. I am technically an enrolled agent, so I'm licensed to be able to do that, but I just don't have any training in federal taxes. All of my experience and training is in state and local taxes, specifically sales tax. So I just refrain from filing federal taxes completely. And I also refrain from filing income taxes as much as possible with the states. The only time that I file income tax with states is if it's included as part of a BDA. Then I will file income or franchise tax returns. And then another service that I don't provide, I think I mentioned it before, is daily or weekly bookkeeping, but I will do monthly, quarterly, and annually bookkeeping. And then in conclusion, I just wanted to say that I would be one of the best sales tax experts that you could hire as a freelancer because of the fact that I have over 3.5 years of experience with everything from the beginning of the process to the end of the process. So everything from determining where to register, getting registered, getting sales tax automation set up, getting the returns filed each month, and then any sort of consulting that's needed in between. And then in addition to that, I also provide bookkeeping services on the side. So